Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Monday Special, where tonight we're talking about striking the balance between too much freedom and too much control when it comes to young people, particularly the way they socialize. And this is something, of course, I'm really asking a lot of parents. Yes, it's a discussion around young people, but it's about asking parents, where do you strike the balance? How do you strike the balance as well? Send us your thoughts and views using the hashtag MondaySpecialKE on Twitter or texting us on 22422. We'll learn more about our audience in just a few moments. I'll introduce you just now, but right next to me, my fellow panelist, I should say, is Dr. Pete Odera, who's dealt a lot with young people and is also here as a parent. So today, there's many layers to you, I think, as you're on the show tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It was nice to meet you.
First of all, this really stemmed from Project X, which has been talked about. Some may have said it's been exhausted, but a lot of people, it's still on their minds. Where do you think the major concern was? Because some argue this has been happening for decades even. Our parents and our parents' parents attended parties where there was debauchery and all kinds of things. What is it you think about Project X that really struck a nerve in Kenyans?
I'll just say real quick, maybe two things. Firstly, this is the first generation that is growing up with the ubiquity of social media and entertainment in our faces. So that's the first thing. It's very public, it's very open. So that's number one. And but secondly, it's the hot issue, because the hot issue concerning sex and sexuality has really come out in the forefront. And one of the things, no matter how liberal we like to appear as Kenyans, certainly one of the key, when you start talking about teenagers or youth and sex, that's a fire, that's a hot button that starts to come in. So of course there's going to be some kind of reaction. And I think there's some kind of deliberate effort to make it look raunchy or make it look like this is something that, because it you know, it attracts attention. So I guess this is what makes it happen.
Before I move to the audience, the next question is, like I said, it's been going on for a while. Do you think there was a sense of hypocrisy to it in terms of how the critics especially reacted, saying, how can this be going on?
I'm not sure I can call it hypocrisy. I don't know if it's, there's some things, there's something that has happened, I think, to our society that is certain. A lowering, if you like, of social mores that has created the kind of situation where people now find that there's a line that you can't cross. And something happened, you know, when we were younger, we were told that thing is for big people, those things are for big people. So when you cross the 18 line, you say, I can finally do what I was told I can't do, whether it's socially acceptable or not. And so I think that these are some of the issues that I think we're having to deal with. Certainly there's a measure of what I'd call genuine concern from parents. And that comes, but for sure, maybe as we discuss with some of our guests tonight, we'll see what are the real issues. Why is there
we'll come to that. And of course later on I'll ask you maybe how you strike the balance with your own children in terms of, you have, at least I've given you time to think about it. Just a quick disclaimer, obviously we're not saying all parties mirror Project X, which of course was described as over the top. It was sort of taken from a movie that came out in 2012 in Australia about a party that was completely out of control. So we're not saying all of them are that way, but this is the scenario that we're trying to paint. Let me start with Charles. Charles is a blogger, and I think I'll start by asking you, because you don't really have an issue per se, Charles, with this. So do you think people were overreacting when it came to this whole Project X scenario? If you can pass the microphone to Charles.
Yes, Janet, I think people are overreacting over the Project X party, because when you look at that party, it is what happens every other weekend in our houses.
And what is that happens every other weekend?
The crazy party, the madness.
Paint us a picture of crazy. What crazy happens?
Crazy is where now we have this ball, we are drinking, people are having fun, you know, you're dancing around. Yeah, you're doing crazy stuff.
With Project X, and again, it's just an example. You know, the poster talked about you will not, when you come here, you won't leave a virgin. They alluded to drugs as well. Do you think that's okay?
All right. When it comes to drugs and sex, I would say that is not okay. But for me, what I would say is let the young people have fun. Young people should be allowed to have parties. But when you're a minor, You know, if you're a teenager or you're a minor, you know, you should now that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And when you're going to use drugs in the party now, I cannot advocate for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're in your 20s. When did you start going for such parties?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Assuming that.
And I think you also
hosted some at
You've hosted some parties.
Yes.
And do they get as out of control? You know, you probably will say no, but how out of control do they get? The parties you host, be honest.
They don't normally get out of control because we are all mature people. We are over 18. My parties, the people who come to my party are mature people who are over 18 years of age.
All right.
So
let's move. Before we hear from Paris and Dennis, let's hear from Wanjiru as well.
Right.
Wanjiru Njuguna, you're 20.
Yeah, I'm 20.
You're a party goer.
I'm a party goer.
Do you have an issue with the Project X type of parties?
I do not have any issue with the type of Project X parties. Number one, Project X party was just overrated, and I think it's the media that was giving it a lot of hype.
Okay, let's step away from Project X, for example, and let's look at the parties that actually happen, because we know they're there. Where we're talking about, as Dr. Peter there has said, sex and drugs and alcohol and really wild over the top. Do you have an issue with those kind of parties?
You know, when you go to a party, you go there focused and decided what you're going to do there. So number one, I think people just make a lot of assumptions, like she's going to a party, so she's going to drink, she's going to do this and this, she's going to have sex. But that is not what exactly happens in parties. I can decide my number one motive, why I'm going to that party. I'm going to dance all night long. I won't take any drug, I won't have any sex.
But those things exist to the parties, in the parties you've been to?
Of course they do exist.
Okay.
Of course they do exist, because number one, it's a party. You're supposed to go have fun. You're supposed to go like free yourself.
Yeah.
And according to Kenya, the kind of parties you're supposed to be having fun in Kenya, to us teenagers, it's all about the booze, it's all about the sex, it's all about the drugs.
Now you've said that you go, normally when you're going to a party, you go with a fixed agenda. What's usually your agenda as well?
My agenda.
And don't say dance all night. Be honest.
No, please.
Okay.
Actually, when I go to a party, I'm going to this party. My number one main thing, I'm going to dance the whole night. Trust you me. I don't do any drugs. I do not do any drugs. And I do not condemn anybody who does any drug. Because no sin is greater than any other sin. All sins are sins.
Okay. Right. Before we hear from Robert, who is our parents, let's move to Paris. Paris, what's your issue with regards to that balance between too much control and too much freedom when it comes to young people, particularly the way they socialize?
I believe there are parameters we can give. And I need the people who are allowing our kids to do this to ask themselves, what values are you expecting those kids to carry up? Are you looking at are you looking at tomorrow? Do you would you like to see that 10 years from now? Would you want them to carry that into their families and teach the children the same? Yeah. That's a question that needs to be asked.
Before I move to Dennis, the concern is that sometimes you feel like, and we'll hear more from Robert and Dr. Pete, you've done the best you can with your child. You feel like you've talked to them about values, you've talked to them about right and wrong, but then you don't really have control over what they do in social settings. How can we then begin to make young people understand what those parameters are?
You know, many of the times we tell them, do not touch the fire, but we don't tell them why. So I believe if we bring them to that place of understanding, we can have a way forward. Yeah. They'll understand, okay, if I go to this party, this will happen and this will happen. Yeah. So they'll know what to do. Yeah. Bring them to a point of understanding. Yeah. Yeah.
Dennis, let's hear from you now. Part of growing up, some might say, is that young people experiment. They go to these parties, they try out, on the worst side, I would say, on the extreme, drugs and alcohol, etc. Some maybe just go to have an innocent dance. So in terms of that experimenting, do you think this is harmful, or is there a part of it that can sort of teach them about how much control they actually have over themselves?
Okay, we experimented in those parties before we, if I can say, matured in our thinking. And the reasons that drove us into such places were, it's not just the experimenting thing. As she said, we were focused. Yeah. But so we were focused on wrongly things, We were focused on wrong things. Yeah. And we achieved those wrong things. Get high, you know, and in our time, the Fast and the Furious was there, so we practiced it on the roads and everything. And this is why now, if I can say, the thing about Project X kind of parties is that it is no longer in the hidden sphere. It's come out to the limelight. Yeah. And they are brazen in their approach in how they were advertising it. And I'm just saying that the Kenyan culture, we cannot afford right now to allow ourselves to step into this place because we don't have, if I can say, parameters to control such a thing.
But you're saying that, and yet you were able to come out of such parties, I would say, without any scars, unless, you know what I mean? You were able
there
to...
There were many scars.
There were many... Are you still scarred? Because some people get sucked into that world and that life. I think that's where the concern for a lot of parents is that you can teach your kids everything, but they go to these parties, get sucked into that world. Others don't. But you're saying we're not ready. You're almost contradicting because you managed to come out of it, okay? What makes you say that right now people are not really ready to get into that kind of scenario?
I came out. The number of people we left behind still in that world, and there are more than the number who came out. So if I can say, I'm also an anomaly in that aspect.
Yeah.
But the thing that I will reiterate that Perry said is that you will come out with scars. And in that poster, they will never say, get ready to be scarred for life.
Yeah, true.
They will never say that.
Okay.
And I think it's high time that, and in as much as there was an uproar in Kenya, there were other Project M's and Project Chris. I was just reading up on that. There were other nations that did the same kind of thing, but they were shut down. So that's okay.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Robert. Robert says, Robert Nyaga, you describe yourself as a liberal parent. Tell us what that means.
I am that kind of parent who gives my children freedom, and at the same time I am also in very tight control over them. But what I normally have is too much, a lot of talk with them. We agree, we are great friends. So even when it comes to, for example, asking for permission to attend to such, we have to sit down and agree. But there's nothing like stopping them from going.
How old are your children?
My firstborn is now 27 years.
Oh, 27.
Yeah.
Do you have any teens or young adults?
I have teens. Another one is 19.
Yeah.
There is another one who is 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they come to you and say, you know, Dad, we're going for a party or we're going to the club, take us through the kind of conversation you have with them.
We agree. You are going to that party, and I am expecting you to be back by maybe midnight. I'll be around, hovering around. So anybody requiring transport, I'm there for them. Yeah, and we agree, and I make sure that we are great friends.
Yeah.
So even when they go out and do the wrong thing, back in their mind, they know they are doing wrong to their father or
with
their
your
mother.
27-year-old, did you have that kind of upbringing as well?
Yes, I went through that kind of upbringing. I was not so much controlled. I got scars, as he is saying, and then that's when I realized, again, it is also always good to get those kind of scars because you also learn. You also learn.
Yeah.
And then I also realized now, comparing with those other young people who I'm growing up with, those who had so much control, when I look at them, I realize it's like it also affected them in a way.
Yeah. I'll throw this to Dr. Pete in just a moment, but where do you think, because a lot of blame was thrown to parents over this whole issue. A lot of people said, where are the parents? Why are they not doing enough to instill values? Do you think that there's an issue in terms of parenting?
I agree with that totally. I even imagine that majority, many of the parents require a lot of guidance and counseling more than even their own children. And I have been a high school teacher, and I can tell you that this is something I've experienced for years. You find a situation whereby parents are not in control of their children. You find that, and today, currently, if you go to many learning institutions, principals and other ends of institutions are inviting speakers to talk to parents instead of talking to. I think they have a very big problem with the parents.
Okay, and I think what we can try and understand now from everyone is some people do have an issue with this. They have an issue with their children going to these parties.
Yeah.
But it could happen. It's going to happen. So how do we communicate these values, if it's a matter of values, to make sure that even though they go, they're not unhinged, they don't go over the top? How do we, and maybe this is where Dr. Pete and Robert can, and you've given an indication, how do we communicate that? And then from everyone else we'll hear what kind of message would work, what kind of communication would work. Let's hear from you.
I think something that's coming that I'm hearing is, I think Robert said it, Wanjiru said it, people go out and have fun. And when I read about this on the online, people go and have fun. They have fun. I think we need to define what fun has become, and something has to be served to the government, I think, when we're talking about this, in that any idea of fun has become, we have, the idea of entertainment and fun has moved to alcohol and sex. That's what fun is. Because of the lack of recreation. A public place for young people in the urban setting is no longer available. Every space has been taken up by some building project or something. I was thinking about it. Where can young people go and just innocently swim at a public that's not private?
Can I interrupt you there? For Charles, Paris, and Wanjiru and Dennis, is that something? Even for Wanjiru and Charles especially, who you enjoy these parties, you go there, the focus. Is what Dr. Pete's saying, would it make any difference if suddenly there were more recreational centers, more places for people to interact and do other things?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Would that make a difference, or would you still say, no, I still have my parties to go to? Do you think it's an issue of lack of recreational centers?
Some point, yeah, but some point, no. As I said from the beginning, it's a personal decision. And I think, like, most people tend to go to parties because that's where you have all your freedom. And most people like to do things at night, and I think everybody knows
this
that.
Is exactly what I'm saying. That we've been, an entire generation has grown up not knowing that there's an alternative to this drinking and sex culture. An entire generation has grown up. I remember growing up and thinking and knowing that you could do other things, such as playing darts, swimming, basketball. Are we going to find a public space in our cities, urban centers, that has those things, that provides an alternative? Because who said that drinking and partying is the only fun thing that we can do?
I'd like to hear Charles's comments on this as well. For you, who hosts these parties and throws them, if there were alternatives, is that something that you think would kind of change?
Would you play table tennis?
Would you play table tennis? No. Would you play darts?
Would I play that in table tennis? Because we have whatever you're talking about, the recreation centers, we have them in our counties. They are there. We have so many things that we can do from where we come from. But I have chosen to go to a party. I have chosen to organize a party because that is what I want. You don't tell me maybe what to do, what maybe you would want to do. Maybe you would want to play that. Go play that. You know? To party.
In those recreational centers where you come from, are they normally packed, or are you seeing less people being less interested in them?
The issue I have,
less interested.
Yes, Charles, I want to just throw this back to you.
Yes, sir.
But I hope you're not missing my point. I'm not saying you're not free to choose. I am saying, though, that an entire generation has been culturalized to think that the only options are sex, alcohol, and this kind of thing. Because the idea, and sorry, I have to bring this back to the place where media is involved. The picture that is, you don't see people on media in the music videos, you know, playing table tennis or shooting ball. You see them, you know, they want to make it rain. You know, they want to do what have you. And this is the life that I'm saying. An entire generation has grown up with that view.
Let's hear from Paris, Robert, and Dennis.
That's exactly the point. I'd like to ask you, have you been taken to a darts center, to a place where people play darts? Have you been taken to a place where people play, okay, they do archery?
Or basketball or whatever it is.
Where you've been to some...
Maybe you can give him the mic if he's answering. Or you're in a theater group.
So this is exactly what he was saying. They have been informed in a certain way, such that when you say darts, it doesn't make sense to them. They say, what do you mean darts?
Yeah, Wanjiru is like,
darting,
what are you on about?
What do you mean
darting is...
Yes, you already have a mode of darting, so this, what you're saying, doesn't seem to make
Wanjiru,
sense.
very briefly, and then we'll hear from Robert.
I think I'll answer you, Paris. Number one, it's a personal decision. As I said, I'm 18 plus. Everybody who goes to these parties is 18 plus. So each and every decision I'm making, I know what I'm doing. It's not because of the dart, the basketball. Of course, I know people play basketball. I know people swim, but I have chosen I want to go to this party. So I think it's a personal decision.
Can I ask you a question, Wanjiru? Is there a way that your parents communicated to you about these parties happen, yes, you can go, but don't do A, B, C, D? Were you given that kind of talk?
Yes, I was. Actually, I'll give a big shout out to my parents, especially my dad. When I tell my dad, like, for instance, Dad, I want to go to this party, he'll be like, where's the party? What's going on? My dad tells me, it's your life, Anne. This is your life. Just know. You do something wrong, it's your life you're ruining. You do something right, it's your life. And when I have that in mind, this is my life. I'll know what I'll do.
Would he allow you to go to a Project X type of party?
Project X party, to begin with, number one, as I said, it was a hype, overrated.
Yeah.
The poster was just there to attract people.
Yeah, but those types of parties do happen.
They do happen. Yeah. They do happen. And like for instance, let's just check out Masaku Sevens. They do happen. Why don't you people go all hulabos against Masaku Sevens, saying, oh, Masaku Sevens people use
did actually. I remember there was an uproar. They did. But okay, I hear your point. I know Robert wants to comment. I know Robert wants to. I hear your point. Thank you for that. But you wanted to comment from the perspective of the parents.
I wanted to comment on the same. Sometimes these young people go to these kind of parties, not necessarily because they also want to have fun. It's like a way of communicating to these parents. Because parents have also become so detached from their own children. And the only time you find a father and a daughter or a father and a son is when they are quarreling. But it's not, you will never find them when they are in good times. And it is when they are in good times that the best time to talk to them. So the only time they try to put a sense in them is when there is a quarrel, and it does not go anywhere.
Maybe parents, before we hear from Dennis, maybe parents are struggling to communicate to their children. How would you advise them to have that kind of discussion?
The only thing that I can say is that this is not something that you cannot start late in life. It has to start very early. Because right now I cannot go start putting sense in my daughter who is 19 today. But if it starts quite early,
like how
you grow together. How early? It can even as early as when the child is in baby class. When the child talks of something. For example, you have children talking about why is my brother like this and why am I like this? You know, those are the times to tell the truth. Let them get the facts, you share and understand this is the part of a girl, this is the part of a boy, and you know these are things that you need to keep private. You start early. But most of us parents are shying off, and again another problem is we are not there for them.
Let's hear from Dr. P before we hear...
I actually want to say something. I think formative years are very important. I think formative years are important. My experience, I'd even say 3 out of 4 of the people who come to my office for counseling are women. 80% of the time, almost 80% of the time, it is because of daddy issues. And I think the root cause for many of these things is the problem. We've never had this discussion when we were younger. I think if you're trying to tell your 19-year-old this is a bad party, the horse bolted, is over the hill, and you need remedial efforts.
There's very little you can do.
Let's hear from Dennis, and then we'll have to wind up, unfortunately.
Okay. I just wanted to pick up on what Dr. Pete said, that the arts, through the media, are what have enforced certain kinds of thinking, to the point that it may not be the parents' fault, but they lost, their voice was superseded by the voice of some rapper somewhere advocating for drugs. If I come and tell you drugs, money, sex, alcohol, you'll be like, okay. But if I come and do it, you know, in a creative way, money, drugs, sex, alcohol, there's a way it just penetrates, and it alienates your parents' voice from being the dominant voice. And I think, as Robert is saying, as parents, we need to, as a nation, in fact, develop curriculum to enable us, parents, to do something.
We're winding up, so very, very quickly from everyone, your thoughts on how to strike that balance between too much freedom, too much control. You know, let me start with you, Dennis. Very briefly, we'll go around. Your thoughts on how to strike that balance?
Okay. Fire in a fireplace is good. Fire on your carpet is not good. So therefore, there cannot be freedom without the parameters. That's what I'll say.
All right. Thank you for that, Charles.
Yeah, mine is to point to the government of this country. You realize the government is busy, you know, trying to fight these parties. They are busy trying to arrest those teenagers and taking them to cells. My advice is they should not arrest those teenagers. They should take them somewhere and you know, talk to them and advise those kids, not arresting them. Then on the issue of arresting people because they are having party, that is a big no. You know, they should be busy. The government should be busy fighting corruption. There is so much corruption in this country. Like now we have ATM deals. You've seen it on the news today. What are police doing about it? You know, they should not concentrate. They should not concentrate on, you know, these small things of partying, because partying has been there since when I was born. And partying will continue over and over. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Paris.
I say, parents, do not give up on those children. Be patient. Just because this voice is superseding, like you said, it's superseding what you're telling them. If you taught them the way in which to go, stay at it. It took my parents 10 years to get me out of that. But guess what? I came out. So be patient.
Out of what exactly, Paris?
Out of that kind of life.
Oh, you were?
Partying, drinking.
Movie, man.
The whole shebang.
Yeah.
10 years.
Okay.
But here I am.
So you're a living testament
Absolutely.
of the party, heavy-hitting party goer, and now you're... Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So please believe in your kids and give them a chance.
All right. Thank you for that, Anju.
Personally, I'll think, as he said, I'll tend to think that the government should stop prioritizing some things like parties, because number one, when I'm holding a house party, it has to be legalized. I don't just come and hold a party here without the government not knowing. So the government should stop harassing people. Number two, I think the media is doing so bad by making things trend, things that are not even real. So I think they should stop hyping all this stuff, because trust you me, if the media did not hype this Project X stuff, it couldn't be like this. These things happen. Accept and move on. Okay. Number two. Okay, number three. Yeah. As our national youth chairman, he's David Gitari. He's supporting this. He's supporting us, the youths, to hold these parties. And if our youth chairman is supporting us, then why are you against us? Okay. You shouldn't be against us. You should let us hold our parties. Okay. Let us do whatever we want to do. All right. But we are 18 plus. We know what we are doing.
All right. Thank you for that, Robert.
Okay. As for me, I would say that if it is possible, let the parents be the best of friends with their children from quite early, so that and it does not mean that you are getting soft anyway. That's the mistake that people make. They imagine you are getting soft. You become the best of friends with them. You share with them from quite early, and when as they grow up, you'll be understanding each other. And for parents again, it is always good to make the children believe in you as a parent. And it's like you are the overall. I also grew up imagining my father was cannot be fought by anybody. That's what I grew up believing in. But today you find the parents, when a child has committed a small thing, unamwambia, I'll tell the teacher, nitambia police. Now, what are you saying about yourself? You are saying now you're not somebody who can be relied upon. Let's be the parents that you're supposed to be.
All right, thank you. And finally, Dr. Faith.
This is a very interesting discussion. I personally think that the social bar for social mores and what we call acceptable behavior has been lowered. Certainly the media has something to play about that. But I think from where I come from and where I sit, there's many examples, biblical examples that I can use of people who were in a society that was decadent, but they stood out as icons of righteousness or social mores that were high. I don't think that we should give in to a low bar. If everybody says that let's just be cannibals and eat everybody, is that the right thing to do? That's a low bar. Let's raise the bar high. I think we give awards and medals to people for doing things that are difficult, not for doing things that are easy. I think as a society we must do the difficult thing. We must reverse the trend. We must say, let's create those avenues for our young people to be able to express the energy that they have. Let's give them alternatives and things that I think will build us. And that's the path that I think will help us to create the kind of society that we want to see. I think lastly, maybe we need to recover, because there's something that has not been said. One of the reasons I'm certain that the level has come down is because many of the preachers and leaders who are supposed to be demonstrating integrity, righteousness, and some kind of uprightness
are not leading by example.
Not leading by example.
All right.
I think this is something we have to come back to.
All right, thank you. So much more to discuss about this, but I really thank you all for your views and for coming through. Many thanks for that. We are now going to take some of your tweets and your feedback as Hussein Mohammed joins me for us to wind up. Let's take a look at those tweets right now. Okay. Okay, I think parents really never realize that their kids are growing, and so proper guidance is needed. The secret to life is to stay focused, remain focused, partying or no partying. Okay, then we have Sauke saying, this is a soul thing. Whether they know it or not, the partygoers are trying to fill something missing on a soul level.
Politics KE. Teenagers are rebels. When parents tame or lock them up, they just postpone the fortunate to come.
All right, we have Agi Shane, I hope I'm saying it right. It's true. Robert is a liberal parent. He has a great family. We should learn from him. Okay. And then we have Adbi Marco saying, young people should know that all this passes away, and whatever wrong you do will come back to you. All is vanity. Let's see if we have, oh, there's one more before we take a look at some text messages. Abdi Kafa _M says, teenagers should be guided by parents through honest discussions and motivation in all spheres, especially sexual. All right, some text.
Yeah, on 22422, Stanley says teenagers should understand the way you reason where you are, or when you are at 19 is not the same you'll think at 29. The older people are just trying to make you make decisions that you will not regret. Yes, it's your life, but it surely affects your family and people who love you when you get hurt. Then we have Sami Kibushi, who says in 80s in Eldoret, we had a boogie dance from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And in the 90s to 2015, teenagers wamekuwa wakiingia jam session from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Na hakuna shida yoyote ime happen. Please wacha vijana wa enjoy. And then Margaret, who says she's a 54-year-old, says freedom in youth, nothing new. As a kid, bad boys and bad girls went to dances. Some came out, others did not.
You really need to get reading glasses.
I wasn't straining.
You are straining, okay. But that's fine. But thank you for that. Thank you once again to our guests for your feedback.
And Janet, you should have asked Janet to say something about her teenage life.
Except the show is over.
It was really bad. Shame. It was really, really bad.
I'm Janet Bogwandisha. Thank you for watching and good night.
Good night. Have a safe one.